how do you go from script to screen? I really want to empower you as filmmakers with the business side of the business. I feel like with technology, things have happened so quickly and it's amazing. I'm of the age that it was very difficult to make an independent film because the technology just wasn't there. Now you have cameras, you have editing systems, there's all these things in place. But what I think is missing is the business knowledge behind the business. There's nothing more disappointing than making a film and nobody sees it. When I was at DreamWorks, I always tell the filmmakers, I don't care how great your movie is, if you don't have good marketing, nobody's gonna see it. Whether you have $100 million or you have $10,000, you could make your movie, but there is one thing I feel adamant about. You can never, ever, ever skip strategy. You need a smart plan to get your film made and to work efficiently and to actually get distribution and to actually get it seen. I did make this little chart for you. Here is what it takes to make a movie. I want you to think about when you're making a film, we're gonna focus on independent films. When you're making a film, think of it like a business. You're setting up a business. Think like an entrepreneur. You've got to set up your infrastructure so things are gonna flow more smoothly. But what I think is fascinating is you start with creative and you end with creative. You start with your idea, the story you want to tell, and then we end with creative, which is all the creative assets that you need to have created in order to market and promote your story, your movie. But there is, I believe, the greatest temptation that people have is to dive straight into creative. Before you write anything, know who your audience is. Who are you trying to target? You got to align your creative vision with the marketplace. This is very important because, again, you want to work smart. It's just like, whether you're making a movie or selling a widget, you got to have a plan. Okay, so the resources for you, again, when I say know your market, you're like, well, how do I do that? The resources that are available to you are Film Freeway. Does anybody know about Film Freeway? Okay, great. What about numbers.com? Okay, and then IMDb Pro. Who uses IMDb Pro? That's awesome. I love IMDb Pro. The reason this is important is you need to know your audience, identify comparable films, look at what platforms are buying films like yours. All of this data, you need analytics. The thing that I learned working at the studio, the thing that separates a studio from an independent filmmaker is data. Okay, so show, don't tell. So you got to have some creative tools to pitch to your, quote, audience. The purpose of the creative pitch deck is to bring on your team. You got to gather people in who have contacts, who have experience, so you can package your project. The big mistake most independent filmmakers make, and I've done it myself, they don't talk to a sales agent until they've made their movie. And I would say the most important thing is make sure your deck is tight, it's clean, you're not wasting their time, and build relationships before you need something. Yeah. It's a lot easier to call a friend than to make a cold call. I will tell you that. Okay, now let's talk about money. So you need a budget, and you need to do a legit budget, not just like pull a number out of the air and go, oh, it's probably $3 million. I mean, if you got a good line producer who reads the script, they could probably, I can read something and go, yeah, you could probably do it for this. Or we were talking earlier, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You could do it for, $500,000 or 10 million. It just depends. But if you're not a line producer, you're not a UPM, make friends with people who are. And no offense to commercial line producers, I was one of them. A commercial line producer is going to have a very hard time budgeting a movie. So get a feature film person and get somebody who has done it before to budget your film, and don't use AI to do it. This is just terminology for you to know when it comes to financing. So equity financing is what we're talking about. An investor's going to give you some money. You're going to pay them back the money, hopefully, but no guarantees, never make a guarantee. This is like money's in, they make it, and then they make a profit. And so say they get back 100% of their investment plus 20% or something like that, 10, 20%, and then you do a 50-50 split. Your investor always gets paid before you do. So they put the money in, you put the sweat equity in, their money's more valuable than your sweat. Okay, to them, not to us. We know that's not true. Okay, grants. Now the good thing about a grant is you don't have to pay it back. The hard thing about a grant is it takes a lot of work to apply for grants. If you're making a horror movie, don't apply for a grant. Like, you're not gonna get it. This was an interesting statistic. Isn't this hard to believe? 94% of the films made are independent. And it's a 20 billion plus market with over 10,000 films produced annually. I added this in because I know this has been all about film, but I just wanted to touch on this briefly. Here's the deal about series. The networks can't take unsolicited material. So they're not just trying to be jerks. It's the legal issue for them. So this is why they only will look at materials from a lawyer, a manager, an agent, because they don't want, if they happen to be developing something similar to your idea, they don't want you to come back and try to sue them and say you stole their idea. If you have an idea and there's something you can sort of make it episodic, put it up on YouTube. Put it up on YouTube, build an audience, prove that you can do what you say you can. You can win an Academy Award. Independent films have won Academy Awards. In fact, Anora this year, it is possible. The main thing is I want you to be encouraged and know that it is possible, but just work smart. So I came up with this. We are the 94%. We are the ones making these films, taking the risk, telling the stories that are super important or bold or inventive, creative, taking the risk. I think it's time for us to build something more sustainable for us as independent filmmakers.